various questions about annulments. They wanted to know, in particular, if the traditional Catholic clergy today does not have the authority to grant marriage annulments, what recourse do the faithful have who may be living in a marriage with strong grounds for annulment?
The Church herself says that as far as grounds for annulment, no people can appeal to a judgment of nullity by the Church to say, okay, they annulled this marriage on these grounds, and I have the same grounds, so my marriage is thereby annulled too. The Church says, no, each case is taken individually and examined individually. So you cannot say, okay, well, according to precedent, this marriage was annulled for these reasons, those reasons apply to me, and therefore my marriage is annulled too. The Church says, no, absolutely not. That does not apply. The fact is, there is only one authority on the face of the earth that has the authority, and that is the magisterial authority to recognize and to authoritatively decree that a marriage was null and void from the beginning, that it was never, that the marriage never took place. So there was no marriage bond, ever. Okay? That these two people were never actually married to each other, however you want to put it. And that authority is the magisterial authority of the Catholic Church. The Roman Catholic Church alone has the authority to make that decision. So that when the Church decides, when the actual magisterial authority of the Church decides that a marriage is in fact null and void and grants that annulment, then one has certitude that they were never married before to this individual, and that that marriage never actually took place. No matter who thought it was right or who believed in it or whatever, it was a putative marriage, perhaps at most. It's that the people thought it was valid, but the Church discovered there was something that invalidated it from the very beginning, lack of consent or whatever else, some other impediment. Therefore, even if a couple thought, or one member of the couple thought, that there were grounds for an annulment, they cannot take it anywhere to get an authoritative decree except to the magisterial authority of the Catholic Church. And that does not mean Francis. And that does not mean the tribunals and so on that are operating under his control. Because we've seen for a fact that Francis and also not only Francis, but those before him, okay? The New Order popes before him, and I stress that they're popes of the New Order, that under their control, their aegis, their direction, annulments have been granted that are completely contrary to the traditional grounds for annulment. So anything that comes out of a diocesan tribunal these days under the Novus Ordo, or from a Roman tribunal, or anything under Francis, is very questionable. You understand my point?
Yeah.
So you can't risk your soul on those things. If somebody were to come to me and say, oh, I have a decree of nullity for my marriage to so-and-so, so I want to marry somebody else, I'd have to tell them, okay, this is completely unreliable. They are, in fact, and I think there are quite a number of other conservative New Order clergy, but they're conservative and they still have the old faith. They're still clinging to the New Order, though. I think they realize that a lot of these decrees are null and void. Not the marriages, but the decrees of nullity are absolutely unreliable. I actually had a theologian of the New Order actually acknowledge that, but he came back and said, well, but this is the official word, so we have to go along with it. Even though basically he was acknowledging that it's actually sanctioning adultery. But because we have this official answer from the Church, as he calls it, sanctioning adultery, we have to accept it. That's our job, our responsibility, and we can't question it. That's where he and I parted company. So, in other words, if a couple if somebody thinks, well, I am married, but I think I have grounds for an annulment, they can't really take it to the Novus Ordo and get anything reliable that they would risk their soul on. And so they made it. They made the choice, and they have to live with that choice. Only the magisterium of the Church, the Catholic Church, can grant that annulment authoritatively. And if that is not speaking now because of the modernist insurrection in the Church, then nothing can supply for it. And I cannot give an annulment, and the traditional Catholic bishops cannot grant annulments. They have no authority to do that. The Society of St. Pius V cannot give annulments. The Congregation of St. Pius V cannot give annulments. The Society of St. Pius X cannot grant annulments. None of them have the authority to do that. People ultimately, in the practical matter, just have to say, okay, well, I made my choice. I put myself in this situation by my own free will, and I have to live with the consequences. And if I have to live a celibate life, then this is what God is asking me to do. And I accept that. There are many people who are living celibate life for whatever reason. They're married, and there might be sickness or whatever. I mean, there's no guarantee it will be otherwise. So there are many times that people, even in married life, are living celibately, whether they want to or not. This is their life, and this is what their lot, and God asked them to do this, and they really need to be willing to accept that.